This is Seth Rowland, President of Basha Systems. This video is one of several videos that demonstrates the types of applications that Basha Systems has built for its clients. In this case, the application here was built on the Business Integrity's Dealbuilder platform. eLawyer.com was founded by two Florida lawyers who had a vision to provide online legal services as an alternative to the traditional bricks and mortar law practice. By providing the services online, they could be provided at a fraction of the cost of the traditional bricks and mortar visits and much more efficiently and affordably. Their vision was to start with an estate planning package which included not only a will but various ancillary and related documents such as the living will, powers of attorney, and pre-need, and give them at a price that most consumers could afford. The document assembly interview package sits behind a secure login. Consumers coming to the site can simply sign up, choose a state, review the package, and place an order. In addition, they could go to a live receptionist who can answer any pre-purchase questions that may have. When they do the ordering, they can simply add it to a cart, register qualifying information, and then begin the assembly. Once you have completed the registration and credit card authorization process, you can begin your client interview. The client interview consists of a series of pages with a series of questions. Each question has help text corresponding to it, and at the bottom of the page we have a series of frequently asked questions that you can read and review to answer any questions that the typical user might have. In addition to that, we have the ability to pose questions which would then be sent on to your legal counsel, who can review the question and get back to you to allow you to complete the document. Taking advantage of some of the features of Dealbuilder, all questions in the interview are dynamic, so that if you entered that you were married, it would ask you your spouse's name and your gender. If you indicated that you had children, you would put an indication of how many children you have and whether any were minors inheriting under the will or might have special needs. When you finished a page, you would simply click Next Page to proceed through the interview, and there might be certain questions which are compulsory. If you have any questions, you can click Yes, pose the question, click No, and continue on to the next page. Notice this next page deals with marital issues, whether you have a prenup or not. If you do, there can be particular warnings which will occur, and the prompts can change accordingly to the options. If you are not currently married, click No. When you click Next, the marital issues dialog would not appear, and we would proceed straight into the children. We could put in the birth date, and their social security number if they need it, and indicate whether they have special needs. Since we'd indicated there were two children, we'd put in the second child and information about them. Notice there's frequently asked questions for every dialog page. In addition, Dealbuilder allows you to access the complete style sheet of all these dialogues and determine color, text, font, and to some degree the layout of the interviews. As the user proceeds through the interview, they can answer relevant questions, and further explanations will appear on the dialog. If you have any gifts, you enter that, indicate the number of gifts, and then proceed to the next page, wherein you're asked to describe the details of each particular gift. You'll notice that it says gifts for recipient, and now I'm going to name the recipient. And as I name the recipient, there is active text which replaces the prompt for the subsequent question and the label for the whole group. Now, how is all this automation done? Dealbuilder is unique among the document assembly programs in that it is the template which drives the interview. In the template, text is made conditional independent, and the interview merely reflects the conditionality and the dependencies in the actual template. So that when we chose on the prior page to give gifts, it included a whole section in the template and therefore made relevant the number of the gifts and the details on them. If we instead chose not to have gifts, that whole section of the will and the related documents was no longer relevant, and therefore when you went to the next page, there was no question about gifts, but you proceeded to the next major topic in the template. At this point, we can choose to have debts or not have any debts forgiven, and we can proceed through this interview. I'm not going to take you through all the interviews in the system. You're welcome to become an eLawyer client and produce a will on your own. But I want to point out that in Dealbuilder you can take advantage of the full potentiality of HTML and JavaScript, which means that we can change fonts, we can have conditional warnings that appear on the dialog, we have support for required fields and all sorts of calculations and computations in the system. On our trustees page, we can name a single trustee. We can name two co-trustees. We can name an institution as trustee. When we come to the personal representatives or executors dialog, depending upon the jurisdiction, you'll notice that the prompts actually are designed to change depending upon whether you're in a state which has personal reps or a state which has executors. In addition, you'll notice that there are questions pertaining to naming your spouse as sole executor. If you're not married, this question would not have appeared. But if you were, and you chose not to name your spouse, you could name a singular co-executor, and you could also name an alternate rep. All these things are controlled entirely by placement of logic rules inside the actual template around the text, and the interview is dynamic. Dealbuilder not only works with single documents, but with collections of documents. In this case, we have an optional include for a durable power of attorney, and the questions which relate to that document are only relevant if you choose to include that document. So by clicking on yes, that document is now included and its provisions are relevant, and therefore those aspects of the interview that deal with that particular document are now relevant to the overall interview. When you have finished proceeding through the interview, we bring you to a final screen, and when you click Next Page, depending upon how the web server has been configured, you can either be presented with all your documents as downloadable Word files, or it can start an automated process, in the case of eLawyer, which sends it for final review and publication and mailing. eLawyer built a custom confirmation page which ends the process and then lets you preview your answers with a document summary template. Here is the summary written in plain English for the client to review and confirm. They have the ability to print the summary or simply return to the interview. And they have the ability to confirm the documents for publication and printing. Just to recap, this system was built with Dealbuilder, Author, and Microsoft Word documents. Using the authoring interface, we are able to develop interviews, decide what fields appear on which pages, and set the properties of each variable. Dealbuilder is a full-powered document assembly system that has all the powers of a HotDocs or a GhostFill in an online environment. It supports formatting, functions, all the things that you've come to expect in a document assembly system, and is completely dynamic. Make a few changes in the template, republish it to the Dealbuilder server, and your prompts are changed. The text and the resulting documents are different without requiring a complete rebuild of an underlying database or engine. It is a full development environment for building automated document assembly systems. If you're interested in a system like this, not necessarily for estate planning documents, but for other types of documents, please feel free to contact myself, Seth Rowland, or Rose Rowland at Bosch Systems at 914-827-9173, or through our website, which you're already on. Thank you very much.